And now today is the start of Black History Month, a month of events and programmes across the UK that celebrates the achievements of black people in Britain. And this year, more than ever, after the George Floyd protests in America and Black Lives Matter protests here, it'll also look ahead to the future. To kick us off, we've got Abu Bakr Madden Al-Shabazz, who's on the management committee of Black History Month here in Wales and is a senior fellow in race and education at Cardiff University. Good afternoon to you.
No, good afternoon. How are you? Okay?
I'm really good, thanks. I'm really glad we've got you on to set the context for this programme, at least, as to what we are going to do over the next 4 weeks or so. A sort of an odd question to kick you off, if you don't mind. How far away are we from not needing a Black History Month?
Well, it could be moments, to tell the truth, because what's happening now, I'm part of the working group for the Welsh Assembly government in trying to integrate and amalgamate Black history into the new Welsh curriculum, which will be established by 2022. And really and truly, I think it'd be a good thing because Black history is an everyday experience. It's not just once a month, but the unfortunate reality is that since colonization and in slavery, when Black people were written out of the history books, etc., what started happening was that their experience was non-existent within the European world. But I hope that change is going to come about, and then it can be a Black History Day, just like it is within Europe or in British society.
Look, we will see if we get there, I suppose. Should that teaching of Black history be compulsory in Welsh schools? Because it's not absolutely mandatory at the moment that it would have to be taught.
It should be compulsory because we're setting up our white students, even black, brown, yellow, and red students, to fail in a global village, which is multicultural, which is full of diversity and all these other type of things. So the reality is it has to be taught.
And is that something you'd like Welsh Government to look at then, to make sure that that is compulsory, not optional?
Yeah, I'd like to see it compulsory, just like how white history is compulsory in science and chemistry, biology, physics, literature, history, geography. It's compulsory in all those subjects. And I don't see why Black history shouldn't be compulsory in all those subjects, considering that archaeological evidence and DNA actually say that we're the oldest people on the planet. So we've been part of the human experience from the beginning of time.
And look, I take your point completely, and it's a good point too, that it's history. That's the end goal, not Black history or white history, whatever history it is, it's history. Because, though, we have the Black History Month, are you comfortable with the idea that in the short term, at least, it might create some sense of otherness, that Black history is somehow other from the rest of the history of the United Kingdom?
Well, I personally, as a historian, don't see Black history as being an other. The other was actually constructed during the colonial period. And the unfortunate thing is, if you do look, and if you go to any bookshops, especially in Cardiff, say, for instance, Waterstones or Blackwells, look at the history section, see who's put in the history section, and then have a look where Black people are put. They're put into a little section known as Black history, African history, or other, whatever the case may be. So that wasn't constructed by us. That was constructed by Europeans themselves.
Do you see that being deconstructed, or is there still some way to go?
I don't see it being deconstructed, unfortunately, because we have to call history other than what it is, calling it Black history, Oriental history, Chinese history. I'd like to see that change in actual fact. But until the British people or Europeans or former colonizers actually see that we are part and parcel of the contemporary experience as well as the ancient experience alongside Europeans, is going to be this them versus us kind of divide. And I don't think that's going to be productive in the future.
Now, look, you've been involved in this for so long on the education side and the work with government as well for so long. Given what's happened this year, when you look at the George Floyd protests in America, you look at the Black Lives Matter protests here, where statues of slave owners were torn down and thrown into the harbour in Bristol, for example, do you think this year is a real year that is going to spark real and lasting change? Or will this be, as we've seen before, just a blip that unfortunately is too quickly forgotten?
I think I'm hoping, and I'm truly hoping, you are right, I am hoping that this is a year for real change, because this is now on the map. It is a global issue because white supremacy or racism, whatever you want to call it, is a global problem. It's not a national or local problem. And it's not just that, it's a problem within the media to a large extent, in movies and films and through the newspapers or whatever the case may be. So I think that this year should have to be a change. And I see this year what I refer to as 2020 vision, a clearer vision for the future, a clearer vision for people from other communities, whether they're white, black, yellow, red, or brown, and that we can literally live in peace and acknowledge the crimes of the past, so we can literally move on and educate each other that is not something which is in the past, which doesn't exist now.
Look, a lot has been made of the type of things that politicians are saying now is very similar to what they were saying during the Black Power protests, during the Olympics back in the 1970s, during the civil rights movement in the United States back in the 1960s. Are you worried that you're hearing the same thing again now in 2020, 20 years into the 21st century, and that still we're looking at this change being long-term rather than short-term or immediate?
Well, I like to see the change long term, and unfortunately, we're carrying out the same kind of slogans from the 1960s, which actually shows that not much has changed. There has been relative change, there's no doubt about that, but we still have far to go. And as far as Black people are concerned, they want to have full integration, not just into the society, but every form of institution that has human activities, whether it's economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, even where war is concerned. So I think this is something that really needs to be realized by the dominant culture, that we're on equal par with them. We've been denied education for 5 centuries, and we want the same as what they have. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're not here to challenge them or kick them to the side. We want to work alongside them, like we did during slavery, but not in a peripheral or subordinate position.
Great to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed. That's Abubakar Madden Al-Shabazz, who kicks off Black History Month for us on this programme.